Welcome to UO Today. I'm Barbara Altman, Director of the Oregon Humanities Center. Our guests today are Eliyahu McLean and Sheikh Ghassan Manasra. McLean is director of the Jerusalem Peacemakers, a network of religious leaders and grassroots peace builders in Israel and Palestine. He is a leader in bridge-building projects such as the Abrahamic Reunion, a group of Christian, Jewish, Muslim, and Druze religious leaders working together to reclaim religion as a source for peace. Manasra is director of the Anwar il-Salam Lights of Peace, an Islamic cultural center in Nazareth promoting tolerance and interfaith dialogue. He is ordained as a sheikh and is the son of Sheikh Abdal Salam Manasra, the head of the Qadiri Sufi order in Israel, Palestine. McLean and Manasra gave a presentation and dialogue titled After the Arab Spring and Protests in Israel, Towards a New Reality in the Middle East. That event took place at U of O on November 30th, 2011. The event was sponsored by the Center for Intercultural Dialogue and was part of the Oregon Humanities Center year-long conflict series. Eliyahu, Ghassan, welcome. You're busy men. You're on a busy tour. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you.
Could we start, Ghassan, with you? Would you tell us a little bit about the Anwar il-Salam Center and the projects you are undertaking there?
Mm-hmm. In Lights of Peace Society, we have the Islamic Cultural Center. In this center, we have two tracks. One track, the dialogue with the other, and the second track is the dialogue within Islam. In the first track, we have several projects, but I need to talk about two important projects. One of these project is the directors project, high school principals and teachers, Jewish, Christians, and Muslims. We began this project in Jerusalem because we thought we need a leadership to influence the next generation. And we found that the educators can influence very well the next generation because among this next generation will emerge educators, politicians, social leaders, and religious leadership. Then we need from today to give them the tolerant education. And we began as several principals and teachers. Today we have more and more teachers and principals with us in this project, and we hope to continue this project in the future also. And the second project is the Families Forum, because we need also not only the school education, we need also the house education to bring the families, parents, and their children together to come to see their parents in action, work together, collaborate together, not only to make a philosophy or intellectual discussion, also to work and to prepare food together. This is important to project in the first track. And the second track, we have also several projects. One of these projects is an introduction to Judaism and to Christianity for the imams and sheikhs. It's so important project because we need to give the imams, the leaders, the religious leadership of the Muslims a view and to be in touch with the teachers of the other religions, not to read or to know the background of the other through Islam. We need to bring that people to come here to teach these imams and sheikhs.
You are also, I believe, translating the Quran into Hebrew with Islamic commentary. Is that correct?
Right. This is part of our project. My father is a big scholar of Islam and Sufism. We began 3 years ago to translate and to create a new commentary, a modern commentary for.
أنتم من أهل البيت.
Right. To create a new a commentary and a new translation into the Hebrew language, because we're from the family of the Prophet Muhammad, and we need to create something new for the Muslims, and also to give the Sufi perspective for the others.
That's a project of huge symbolic importance.
Right.
But I understand that you're moving from the most intellectual in that way to the most basic and daily by having people prepare food together. That's a wonderful combination on all fronts. Eliyahu, you have a very varied background.
Thank you.
How you're welcome. How did that bring you to do what you are doing now?
Well, I have in my family roots Christians on my father's side. My mother is Jewish, so that makes me Jewish. So in my own family roots, in a sense, where I'm a bridge as well in my own family background. And so as a teenager, when I was searching for an sense of identity, I had a bar mitzvah and in Honolulu, Hawaii. And after my bar mitzvah, I got involved in a Zionist youth group that sent me to Israel. And then I fell in love with the country and moved to Israel, not after studying in a small, we like to say a small country south of Eugene called the People's Republic of Berkeley. And there I became a pro-Israel activist, but I met also the Palestine activists. And I got interested in how can we make a better future for both Arabs and Jews who are destined and blessed, I believe, to live together in that land as brothers, as the children of Abraham, as the daughters of Sarah and Hagar, because a lot of our work is to help Israelis and Palestinians awaken from the illusion that we're not one family, the illusion that we're meant to fight each other, that we're destined to kill each other, that the opposite is true, that our destiny is to live together as brothers, as Ghassan and I do, as a religious Jew who grew up as a Zionist and as a Muslim sheikh from Jerusalem and Galilee. We hope to show on a small scale a personal example that we're trying to manifest on a larger scale between our two larger peoples.
How did the two of you end up working together?
Well, in the year 2000, there was a meeting of a group called Derech Avraham El Tariqat El Ibrahimiyya. It is a movement of Muslims and Jews in Israel, Palestine, the Holy Land, who are trying to study the Jewish Sufi movement of Cairo, the son of the Rambam, Maimonides, the greatest scholar in Judaism. There was a lot of historical cooperation between the mystics of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, but especially in Morocco, in Cairo, in the Golden Age of Spain. So we started a group to try to revive and revitalize that, and there was a conference in Neve Shalom, a Jewish Arab peace village near Jerusalem, and Ghassan and I met there in the year 2000, and we've been working together ever since.
You travel together?
Yes.
You present together? You live not far from each other. Do you anticipate working together as a team for the foreseeable future?
I think yes. We will be a team and we'll continue to work together, because in Eliyahu, he has his own organization. I have my own organization. We work in common and we work in separate, but our target and our goal is to get to the same result and on the end, to bring all of the people to be together and to create awareness for the people that we are the sons of Abraham. We need to build the tent of Abraham, and all of us will be under this tent, not only as a physical dimension. We need also the spiritual dimension to make internal awareness. Then we will continue to work with the educators, with the families forum, with the religious leadership, and with the youth, with the children, with all of these levels of the society, to bring peace to be together.
One of the things that I was struck with reading other interviews that you have given is that you're working both interfaith, and the two of you working together are the example of that, but also intrafaith. And Ghassan, you mentioned that when you said that you are speaking to other Muslims, other Sufis, about how to perhaps reconceptualize the relationship between Palestinians and the Jews.
And I would say not only other Sufis, but other mainstream Sunni Muslims who are don't call themselves Sufis. That's just as much an important aspect.
You also, and he's right, because not only with the Sufis, because we have a good connection with the Sufis, and also with other branches of Islam, but we also we have connection and negotiation and dialogue with other branches of Islam, and come to say the moderate, middle, and come to say the right wings also. We have lots of connections with the Muslims.
And I want to add that also in the Israeli Jewish society, I'm living in a religious moshav called Beit Meir, and so my friends and my neighbors are Orthodox and right-wing. And so I'm like this, so kind of this crazy peacemaker who's working with Arabs and Muslims and Palestinians, but I also am praying and I'm davening, what we call praying, and I'm part of that community also. So half of my work, which is more difficult than working with Ghassan, is the dialogue within my own community in Israel. And at every Shabbat dinner or Rosh Hashanah or my wedding several years ago, every personal event and life cycle event, I always have Palestinians from the West Bank, Muslim sheikhs, Christian priests, Druze, to show that it doesn't have to be such a strange thing that we can share our lives with each other as friends, not just to build a wall and separate us and say your state here and our state there, but that we can live an integrated lifestyle. This is how we live our life. We have this group of religious leaders called the Abrahamic Reunion, and we have some of the top religious leaders, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, and Druze, who are, each one of them are powerful peacemakers, and we all share a common vision that the prophets taught us how to live together as one family. And this is the teaching that the prophets of Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, we all share the same prophets, and we live in the same land, and perhaps nationalism doesn't have to be, or our national aspirations, Israel or Palestine, has to be a reason to divide us. That in fact we're one family and we share the same prophetic tradition that is part of the spiritual heritage of the biblical Judeo-Christian heritage and the Islamic heritage.
I think you're right. We need to be careful from the points of conflict. You're right, because sometimes we don't know where to go, to the nationalism or to the religion, because the religion there, the problem sometimes, if we take a look to the Palestinian-Israeli view, we can see that the conflict between Palestinian-Israeli side, not between Jewish and Muslims and Christians, because we have lots of great connections as Jews and Muslims and Christians. Now we need to graduate and to take care for the two sides, Israeli and the Palestinian nationalism. We need to work there and to connect between the people, because it's part of our conscious mentalities, come to say. We need to clean our mentalities and to come to be together.
One of the powerful metaphors that I've read that you use in your work is that it takes two wings to fly.
That's right.
And there was a charming anecdote about people not being quite sure whether you were right wing or left wing, and you've brought this together as a lovely metaphor about flight.
That's right. I travel often, and we gave several talks in even religious Orthodox synagogues in Sharon, Massachusetts, and in several parts in the States, and we've spoken in mosques before as well, and people say, well, you're... And one of the rabbis that we work with, Rabbi Menachem Froman, he actually lives in the settlements, and he started a movement of West Bank settlers who are working with the Palestinians to support a Palestinian state, but to stay as citizens in a state of Palestine. So when you work with people like that, well, you must be right-wing because you're a settler. but you support Palestinian self-determination. That makes you left-wing. Or you work with Arabs, or you're religious too, or you're left-wing or right-wing. And so I always say, not only does it take two wings to fly politically, but I can't fly very far if I don't have my other wing. And so Ghassan is my other wing. And we have a partner in Jerusalem, Hajj Ibrahim Abu al-Hawa.
Right.
And here in the United States, the son of the late founder of Jerusalem Peacemakers, his name was Sheikh Abdulaziz Bukhari. He was a descendant of Imam Bukhari, a famous scholar in Islam. So his son, Izzuddin Bukhari, is now here in Portland, working with our friend David Kamrat to found Jerusalem Peacemakers USA. And so we have our wings here in the United States.
Yeah, it's very important for us as Sufis also, what Eliyahu said, that also we cannot be alone, we cannot realize ourselves, because in our tradition, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, if you want to know your God, you must know yourself. It's okay, I go to know myself, but how can I know myself? I need the other. Then I need the next part, the other part, to complete myself, to know myself. I need the other to realize myself in here and his essence. Then, if I need to be complete, I need the other side, other part of me, the other. It's two wings and other part. We need to be one unity, because through this unity we can get to connect with God and to connect with the other, with the light.
What you're doing takes a lot of conviction, a lot of courage, a lot of bold thinking. You quote Shlomo Carlebach, who says you have to have holy chutzpah.
That's right, holy audacity, holy chutzpah, absolutely. Because it takes a lot of chutzpah, a lot of audacity to stand up and say, in the name of God, the name of Hashem, in the name of Allah, I have the right to kill another person, or to occupy another person, or to displace another person in the name of God. And many do that. Can't we have a little holy chutzpah, holy audacity, to stand up and say, we need to live together in the same land and not kill each other, but to be friends and partners and collaborators. And it seems very obvious in a studio in Eugene, Oregon, but over in Israel, Palestine, it's not always so obvious. So it takes actually that same, we actually have formed one of my rabbi, Rav Froman, when he met with Yasser Arafat, and he even met with the founder of Hamas, Ahmed Yassin. The language that he used was the language of jihad, that we need a jihad for peace. We need to reclaim and do a joint jihad to fight against the Satan, which it makes the children of Abraham hate each other and kill each other. And it's a jihad of love, a jihad for peace. You have to have that same determination, because otherwise you'll just be pushed aside by the forces of fear and hatred and ignorance. And this is the real enemy, and it's not blaming a wounded Israeli or a wounded Palestinian with their history. It's easy to understand and have empathy for the pain that they've gone through historically, to understand why each of our peoples are caught up in this fear. But we have so much work to do to take down those walls of fear and to create events and gatherings and spaces where we can come to meet eye to eye and share each other's humanity. So all of the events that we organize, we work with Palestinian partners in the West Bank. We bring religious Jews, right wing, left wing, and we create those spaces at events like the Jerusalem Hug and monthly gatherings and Abrahamic Reunion and the Teachers Project and the Families Forum.
I wanted to ask you to elaborate just a little bit about the Jerusalem Hug. It's a wonderful concept. Would you mind giving us a few more details on that?
So we started in about 5 years ago to plan.
It's an annual event, right?
An annual event, yeah. Because we were analyzing the situation in Jerusalem. We see that religious Jews, we're praying 3 times a day for the rebuilding of Har HaBayit, the Temple Mount. But yet our love of Jerusalem often gets defined in a way that excludes the connection of a Muslim or Christian to Jerusalem. And we saw that the Muslims around the world, the same, have a love for Al-Quds and Haram al-Sharif in a way that excludes the Jewish connection to Jerusalem. And our love of Jerusalem becomes a reason to fight and be in conflict. So we try to come up with a strategy of how can we unite the lovers of Jerusalem from all angles. So we organized an event called the Jerusalem Hug. And we started with a few people at Damascus Gate and a few people at Jaffa Gate. And we were planning a big event, and we heard that a Palestinian taxi driver had been murdered by a Jewish passenger. And the Palestinians at Damascus Gate said, you can't have the Jerusalem Hug event. Then we heard that the mother of the murderer, a French Jewish woman, sat with the father of the victim and cried with him in his home in Beit Hanina. And the Palestinians, when they heard about that gesture of reconciliation, they gave us their blessing to hold our event outside the walls of the old city. And that was the first Jerusalem Hug. And we started with a small group of Israeli hippies and New Agers and Palestinian friends from Bethlehem and Abu Dis. And we thought maybe 20 or 50 people will show up. But by the end, hundreds of people walking by, Palestinian shopkeepers, Israeli soldiers, even right-wing people, Christian monks and nuns in full religious garb came and gave their hands and joined in a prayer for peace around the walls of the old city of Jerusalem. If you want to watch it on YouTube, you can just type in Big Hug Jerusalem on YouTube and you'll see some videos from that. And it was so powerful that it became an annual event. So this past July 3rd, we held the 5th annual Jerusalem Hug. So now we have an annual event to unite Arabs and Jews, and we've developed positive relationships with the city of Jerusalem, the Jerusalem police, Palestinian Authority, Israeli army, positive relationships across the board so that we can make sure to have large delegations of Palestinians from all over the Palestinian Authority join us, and they do every year.
The focus of your presentation and your dialogue here at U of O was the recent events of the Arab Spring and changes that are happening in Israel as well. What effects do you see those political events having on your movement for reconciliation?
I think that it's some internal movement in the Arab world, some needs in the Arab world. They need democracy. They need freedom sometimes. They need food. These things, I think, to have pure, come to say Arab Spring, it's connected to us as a peace worker. We need to be in connection with the right needs of these people, not the political needs, because we don't need to be in charge with the political issues around us. We need to work with the grassroots. We need to work with the simple people to create a new situation, not only in Israel, Palestine, also in the Middle East and all over the world. We need to have more and more people with us to make spiritual revolutions, not political revolutions. I think that we have connection in our souls and our spirits with these people, not on the political side.
I understand. So spiritual revolution is the key term. And how can the people of Oregon, the new movement, the new Oregonian wing that you've just founded,
Yes.
and more broadly speaking, the people of this country help with this initiative? What do you see?
Well, one way is if anyone watching this program wants to come to the Holy Land, they can go to our website, JerusalemPeacemakers.org, and we'll soon be opening up a travel company to meet the peacemakers of the Holy Land and the Middle East, Jewish, Christian, and Muslim. And we're going to be, Ghassan and I are also becoming registered tour guides as peacemakers. So anybody that wants to come should contact us through our website, JerusalemPeacemakers.org, and we can, first of all, you can come and see on the ground what we're talking about. And also, you can support, if anybody wants to support financially. We're doing a lot of projects on the ground to tap into the ferment for change in Israeli society, which was spearheaded by the recent protests in Israel. and the Arab Spring. And a lot of the approach of our work is to also to involve the religious leaders and the grassroots. Because if you look at the nature of the outcome of the changes in Tunisia, in Libya, the recent elections in Egypt, and changes in Syria, there's a lot of Islamic flavor in the new regimes and the new democratically elected and regimes around. So in Israel, my work is to educate my politicians and my society more that we need to build a bridge by opening up a dialogue of Islam, rather than fear of Muslims and fear of Islamically flavored regimes, especially with Egypt, the most important strategic peace partner of Israel and in Jordan. We need to open up a dialogue to the sheikhs, to the Muslim leaders. And who can do that in Israel better than the rabbis? Because the rabbis, more than the secular politicians from the Israeli Foreign Ministry or the government, actually have a trust, because we can open up a dialogue based on understanding of each other's spiritual traditions and religious traditions. Because going back to the same message that the prophets that we share, when I speak in the West Bank, I travel often to the West Bank, Ramallah, Bethlehem, and I'm in a room, and all I have to do to get the tension to go up in the room is to say one word: Zionism. And when I'm with right-wing friends in Jerusalem, all I have to do to get the tension, blood pressure, is say Palestine. But when I bring in the message, we're all the children of Abraham in the land of the prophets, in the Holy Land, Eretz HaKodesh, Eretz HaNevi'im, land of peace. I bring in terms that are found in the biblical and Islamic narrative that can calm down the energy in the room, and then to create a space where we can build trust and then tackle the political differences between our two peoples, but through a relationship of trust, by finding our common spiritual history that unites us. And once we have that, then the issues of borders and refugees and Jerusalem and all of these issues, we can solve all of those issues. We can solve everything.
With that sentence, we can solve all those things, we need to close.
Okay.
It's a good place to end. Ghassan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Eliyahu, thank you for coming.
Sure.
It was a pleasure to have you both.
Likewise.
We've been speaking with Eliyahu McLean, Director of the Jerusalem Peacemakers, and Sheikh Ghassan Manasra, Director of Anwar il-Salam, Lights of Peace in Nazareth. They presented After the Arab Spring and Protests in Israel Towards a New Reality in the Middle East. That was on November 30th, 2011. The event was co-sponsored by the UO's Center for Intercultural Dialogue and was part of the Humanities Center year-long conflict series. Thank you for watching.